Hey. Okay. I just did a live stream on Avi. I'm grateful for the 73,000 subscribers on there. Here, 18,900. We finally breached that barrier. So, Aaron Demir, thank you for joining in. It's not going to be just you anymore since the stream has started. Welcome. I appreciate your time. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful rest of your day. And ICOs, STOs, the recession 2019. Hi, Leah. Let's discuss. So, first of all, if you have not seen these two movies, I definitely recommend them. They both deal with the 2008-2009 economic crisis around the world, but mainly they're centered on America, how it started for a lot of people. They don't really understand what happened with the housing market crash, the mortgages, the CDOs, all that stuff. I think it's a very important event in American history and in recent history for millennials to learn about, and especially if you're older, you probably lived through it. You lost some money potentially through your work, through companies, your clients, anything. So past the bleach. Hey, welcome. Unfortunately, no nips. So sorry. We especially on this channel, we have to, censor. But thanks for joining us in. So yeah, there was a lot of people affected through the housing market crash, and a lot of people just don't understand what happened. How did this happen? It was going on for years. In 2005, a lot of people were selling this crap out there on the markets. It was repackaged once, twice, 3 times, 10 times, right? And something that was a $10 million deal turned into a $20 billion fiasco, into more. And then there was billion-dollar bailouts left and right. Companies fell down. And why am I talking about this? Well, Bitcoin has recently passed its 10th birthday. Satoshi Nakamoto, whether it was an individual or a group, decided after these banks collapsed, after the mortgage crisis, listen, there's got to be a better way out there, right? So Bitcoin was created, and right now, a lot of people are happy because the economy is doing so much better. If you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500, right, everything's going up. But as with cryptos, stocks as well this year have had a very interesting beginning, and they will have an interesting ending. So in January, stocks were actually doing worse than cryptos for a period of time. And recently, in the past couple of weeks, it's been very interesting. While there was stability in cryptos, stock and Forex were experiencing, well, some volatility. Now crypto has finally regained some of its volatility due to the Bitcoin Cash hard fork. But the two movies that I recommend, Margin Call and The Big Short. So it's really an interesting series of events that unfolded, difficult to explain to people who aren't familiar with finance, and they never took any economics classes. But I like how they were just done in an easy format. And there's a bunch of clips out on YouTube, so you don't even have to watch the movies just to get started on the research. But it's interesting because the same events that led up to the 2008 crisis, well, you're seeing some of these patterns right now in this year. And maybe after I got into debt, and now that I'm recovering from debt, I am close to getting out of debt, right? I have learned so many things with credit card debt, with the banks, with cryptocurrencies, with investing, with managing personal finances, with looking a couple of years ahead into the future. And part of me has this weird paranoia, but I appreciate that paranoia. It's helping me see into the, it's helping me prepare for the worst. If nothing ever happens, great. But every couple of years, there's always some economic downturns, in countries, whether there's going to be another recession next year, 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. It's always nice to, just be safe, live a rather minimalistic life, try and be frugal, at least in certain areas, maybe not all around. But hey, if you get to Avi too, all right, pass. Love you, appreciate, but your channel is dead. Why? I would say quite the opposite. It has been dead It was dead in the summer. Now that live streaming is enabled again, now that I've been uploading more, maybe there's not a lot of movement, but there's certainly some positive movements going on over the past couple of weeks that if you see the reflections on other crypto channels that were 5 times, 10 times larger than this one only has 18,900 subscribers, and it's in the positives, which is great. There's a lot of cryptocurrency channels that are falling into negatives. There's at least 5 or 6 off the top of my head right now that are over 100,000 subscribers that have lost anywhere from 500 to 1,500 subscribers in the past 30 days. It's unfortunate, but a lot of people, the reason for that, a lot of people were investing into ICOs and they got super excited. Okay, great. ICOs were doing really well. They thought YouTubers are geniuses. They're going to follow the geniuses, and everybody's a genius now because everybody's making 5, 6, 7 figures left and right from investing into a bunch of ICOs. And whoops, it all came crashing down in January. Some people said the bubble has burst, and this happens every single year with Bitcoin and cryptos. But there has been a lot of stability this year. After that crash, it has been one of the most stable periods in Bitcoin's history for a very, very long time, in years, right? And there is more activity, there's more movement in the private sector right now at this point of the year. Maybe there's not a lot of hype, such as last year in November and December, there was, Bitcoin, Litecoin, all the cryptos were making huge movements. Ethereum was over 1,200, 1,300. Now it's currently $178, right? Bitcoin was approaching $20,000. Everybody was just super hyped up. It's kind of like Yeezys. The prices were just getting out of hand, and then the music stopped, but not in the private sector. In the private sector, they've been doing a lot of investments into STOs, security token offerings, right? So today's video is about ICOs and STOs because I promoted quite a bit of ICOs. I'm guilty, but just as I'm guilty of promoting these ICOs, I was also guilty in investing into them, profiting from them, and losing money from them. So some of them made me rich, and some of them made me lose a fortune. Just as some of you guys in the audience out there, give me €1, awesome kitchen. Awesome kitchen. There's no way I will be donating €1. It's kind of funny, but there's this Trump quote, right? Where at one point he was in debt and he's walking past a homeless person. He's like, that homeless guy is wealthier than he was. So that's interesting. Over the past year, I was walking through a lot of scenarios where people were begging for money. And I was like, yeah, I can't even spare that, right? Now, as I'm getting a track of my personal finances and I'm paying off the debts and all, every single dollar matters where it goes, right? So, how did you get into debt? It's not school, actually. It's much better than school. It's thanks to, there was a lot of elements, but one of my worst weeks this year, I lost around anywhere from like $60,000 to $70,000. I will do a video in depth about it when the 1-year anniversary comes for this point. It was quite, I kind of treat it like a fun little event now. 60 to 70,000 just burned right there, right? Into a couple of ICOs. So with ICOs, you could have made a bunch of money really quickly. There was millions flowing in. And as an influencer, influencers were getting paid thousands of dollars to review videos. Some of the larger YouTubers were getting paid a couple $100,000 or equity shares percentage into a couple. Someone's knocking. I think that someone is downstairs. They're building something. Yeah. Anyways, so some people were getting equity percentages in companies, and these percentages ended up being worth 6, 7 figures. They made a lot of money, but now their comment sections are reflecting a negative environment. People are upset. It's understandable. Of course, some people have left the community. Some people have gone into other industries, and some won't be returning to cryptos ever again. But I think it's silly to leave all of this behind. There's a lot of valuable knowledge out there. So let's share the screen. Application. Here we go. Okay. Here's my YouTube. But let's start with CoinDesk, an article from the SEC. Experts say ICO party is truly over. Is it hard to day trade with crypto, by the way? That's, well, in my opinion, yes. Yes, it was extremely stressful. Even over the past 2 or 3 years when I was day trading, okay, maybe I don't have a lot of day trading experience, but with my limited day trading experience, even when I made a lot of profit, I would say those times were even the most stressful, because when you're dealing with a lot of money and it's constantly moving every single hour, and with cryptos, you know, the markets never sleep. It's 24/7, one rumor, one news event, one article, let's say even on CoinDesk, right? Cointelegraph, one tweet, right? Roger Ver says something, boom. The markets, while you're sleeping, can go completely the opposite direction. If you placed, you know, stop limits, great, but it's just stressful. You have higher cortisol levels, you get less sleep. It's, you know, it's a lot of people decided not to day trade with cryptos. A lot of people decided just to go into a couple projects, the gems that they found, and then hodl, right? So the US Securities and Exchange Commission, they are dealing with 2 crypto startups, and they're pursuing fraud. In a pair of orders published Friday morning, the SEC announced it settled charges with Carrier EQ, otherwise known as AirFox, and Paragon Coin. So both startups would register their tokens as securities, refund investors, pay penalties of $250,000, and file periodic statements with the regulator for at least the next year. So both of them are completely screwed. They're going to refund investors, so all their millions of dollars buy. And on top of that, Ether Delta, I didn't make a video about this, but it was huge in the crypto community. Mr. Zachary Coburn was dealing with the SEC. He got fined $300,000 for essentially coding, developing Ether Delta and letting it free, and all of the bad stuff that happened on Ether Delta, at least bad under the eyes of the SEC and the US government and tax regulations. Well, he got fined for that, which is kind of bad because Ether Delta is supposed to be a DEX, a decentralized exchange. And is it really decentralized if the SEC is able to find out who the owner of that is, then find that individual, you know, a long while after it was created? So this left open a question for a lot of cryptocurrency communities out there. What happens to future decentralized exchange issues? Will the SEC be finding out who created those as well? Will they be finding that? So it's interesting, but right now we're in a period where ICOs, there's less and less good projects out there. I'm not saying all ICOs are scams. There's certainly some ICOs out there that are doing extremely well. There's a lot of professional investors that are profiting from them, but it's getting more difficult to find these, right? And with the SEC going after a couple of these, here is one section in this article that says it's really hard to say or predict what the SEC is going to do, but from what I understand from their strategy, they're going after the slam dunks, the low-hanging fruit. The SEC has put out a statement, and based on the way they're worded, Pally says the orders would appear to apply to 95% of all the token sales in the last 2 years. So 95% of all the ICOs would technically be classified as securities. Some would even go as far as saying 100% of them are securities. And oh, Jose Guzman, you got unsubscribed from your channel? Yeah, YouTube's shady. That happens all the time. Well, hey, you know, it's good that you found that out. Welcome back. So what happened with the SEC? The SEC is exploring a way to try and get all these ICOs slam dunked under one nice section and label them as securities. Well, if that happens, if ICOs are labeled as securities, then people won't be investing in ICOs anymore, and the companies won't want to have an incentive to create an ICO. They will go via traditional crowdfunding methods, or they will just make an IPO, right? Instead of, you know, they'll do an IPO and they'll have a cryptocurrency department in their company. It's not going to be huge. It's not going to be the whole company. You know, just a small section of it. And they will incorporate blockchain technology, but they will go the traditional fundraising routes. Some of the larger companies will do that. But for the smaller companies, there is this huge barrier still that they don't want to do IPOs. They can't really do crowdfunding from whether it's sites or local communities. So how do they raise money? Well, an STO is the next best thing, because while it may not target every single person out there, an STO is going for the people with the money, the accredited investors, the institutional investors. So there will be a lot of stability here. You will need to pay more in legal fees, because you will have to explore all the documentation. Everything's going to have to be in order. But once everything is approved, once the government and the banks and everybody's happy with that, then you can start your STO and start collecting millions of dollars from these accredited investors. To be an accredited investor in the Americas, you need to have an annual income of over $250,000 or have $1 million net worth, not including your primary estate, so your house, right? And so this is targeting people with $1 million or more. These are cryptocurrency investors. Probably they've been investing in ICOs. Now they're switching to STOs. They're looking at these models that have been working. They're trying to find the next best thing. There's not a lot of STOs right now. And the ones that are, well, most likely a lot of these projects will remain over the next 2 to 3 years, and they're going to be developing further. So it's an interesting period, because right now we have the next couple of months to learn about these STOs, try and find jobs, whether we're looking for jobs, or try and find investment vehicles if we are accredited investors. I'm not one of those individuals. But I've seen this switch. It's very slow. However, the community's moving towards this nice aspect. A lot of the community at first was scared of getting the stability point that we're at right now, because it's going against the original thoughts of Bitcoin and decentralization and all that. But I'm happy. As somebody who wants to make money from cryptocurrencies, I enjoy this. I think it has a bright future ahead of it, right? So with stability, a lot of the people who are investing $1,000 are going to be scared off. The people who got late to the party, who were just in it for the hype, they just wanted to 10x their money, well, they're not going to come back. So the accredited investors are going to come on board, and there still is a couple of years before this may turn into a stock market sort of deal, where the stock market is highly regulated, but it's also highly manipulated by a lot of these big players. With cryptocurrency, a lot of people are saying, well, okay, so there's some manipulation, and of course there will always be manipulation by the whales. But for these smaller guys, for these non-hedge fund investors, it's a good time. 2019, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not investing in Bitcoin. I'm not investing in any ICOs, any STOs, any airdrops, anything at the moment. But I am investing my time into learning more and more about this, because the economy outside of crypto, well, it's not looking too good over the next couple of years. So, uh-oh, looks like my internet's about to run out. Unfortunately, today we're live streaming from a hotspot because my router still hasn't been installed, and I'm going to have to redo the SIM card. But thank you guys so much for staying tuned for today's nice little rant about STOs, ICOs. Are ICOs dead? I don't think they are fully, but we're approaching the end of the party with ICOs. I think STOs need more. We need more education about STOs. We need to observe what's going to happen with the markets, and it's going to be an exciting time regardless of what's happening. There's more jobs, there's more companies going out into crypto markets. So I looked at your channel, Moses. Even the head of the IMF says countries should have crypto. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for staying tuned today, and see you guys tomorrow. You should live stream more often, mate. Well, Leo, I hope I can. I hope that my channels stay in good terms with YouTube. And if so, I will live stream every single week. So, woo! All right. Cheers. Bye, guys.